has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
It's Ferrall on the bench, coast to coast, in the biggest way possible, hanging out the bad seed, the burgundy, the bad apple with a bad attitude. We are live in New York City, the Big Apple. Ooh. People dressed in plastic bags, directing traffic, some kind of fashion shake-it-up should do be, along with the Tutty and Tater King, the founder of the ILC podcast, the rights holder of the Sheet of Integrity, and the Put It With the Golf Guru. On a midweek, where do you hurt? Wednesday, it's Carver High, ladies. Mafia is running it along with Back from the Flu. Luke, I am your father. He said he was very uncomfortable around his doctor when they put the temperature gauge in his... the rundown on a Wednesday, shall we? With all the basketball going on, we've got a double shot with Morency this very hour from British Columbia. And then listen to this. Stop the press. In the second hour, a double shot with the Prime Minister, Cam Stewart, live from Toronto, Ontario, in the midst of a tariff war with the United States. In the final hour, a double shot with Stewie, live from the players at TPC Sawgrass in Ponte Vedra Beach, FLA, with all of that gorgeous hunk. We've got games going on, including a meltdown, Carver High. What is happening with Arkansas? Well, they were up 20. To humanity with a timeout. 3 minutes left. They're only up 1. They haven't scored but 2 points in the last 15 minutes.
No points in the last 7:21. 2 points in the last 15 minutes. Arkansas, who had, as you mentioned, a 20-point lead earlier in this game, I clocked it back to 59-41 at the 14-minute mark. So a 19-2 run by South Carolina. Now, Arkansas just made a bucket, Scotty, but they took it off the board. I don't know if you saw that. They called it offensive basket interference. So they finally looked like they were going to break the schneid, and no good. So Carolina's got the rock, 3 minutes to go, and we'll see what they could do here. Now, there's a lot of things going on. Let me tell you what's already done. Georgia Tech beat Virginia 66-60, opening game of the ACC tournament this afternoon. So they move on. In the second game, Carolina's up 10 already on Notre Dame, 25-15, with about just under 9 minutes to go in the first half.
I got Arkansas on now. I got the SEC channel going.
You got it on?
I'm watching it. It's 2:45 and clicking, and they are still up 1 after they pulled the shot. So now they finally score a 3-ball. They're up 4 with 2.5 and rolling. So I got it on at the very least. I got all the action rolling today.
And obviously this is the early game of significance with what it means to Arkansas, because if they lose this game, it'll be a long 4 days for them waiting for Selection Sunday to see if they're going to make the field. So big 3-ball for Arkansas right there. Elsewhere, oh, by the way, Texas and Vandy follows this in Nashville at the SEC tournament with Vandy minus 2.5 in that game. Texas needs that game badly, Scotty, the second game today in Nashville.
Yeah, I trust no spreads at all and no seeds at all. I don't care if you're the 1 against the 16. I don't care if you're, it doesn't matter. The spreads are dangerous. They are torture. These games are brutal to bet on. And it's a featured attraction for next week. Okay, so this is like the precursor to disaster. So the prelude to a kiss. Next Thursday, you think you're going to have it all figured out when you see these seeds going up against teams that you think are going to get crushed, and they're getting all these points and everything else, and they're not going to cover. They're not going to cover. Did Delaware cover last night? Yes, sir. They sure did. You have no clue. This game was 20-point blowout, and then Arkansas never scored again. And now all of a sudden it's a 4-point game. It was a 1-point game. How about I was watching, what was it? It was the Cincinnati game. They got within 3 of Iowa State, and then they got whacked by 20.
Yeah, they got completely rubbed out late in that game. 76-56 was the final for Iowa State. Second game of the day at the Big 12. That is going to be – who's got that second game in the Big 12 today, Scotty? Oh, Colorado, West Virginia. They're underway right now.
Boog Shambi with the call.
Boog on the call for that game. At the A-10, which is in D.C. this week, Davidson beat Richmond by 4 in the first game today. Second game's underway. And how about Fordham up 12 on Rhode
Rams
Island?
From the Rose Hill and the Boogie Down.
Getting involved. At the American, a good one with under 2 minutes to go. Charlotte has a 1-point lead over Rice. 1:21 to go in that first round game.
No one cares about that.
Nobody cares about that. Northwestern and Minnesota will start in about 20 minutes. First game of the day at the Big Ten tournament.
How do you bet on that game? They're both terrible. They're both terrible. And Minnesota's getting 3. What do you do there? One team went 16-15, the Cats. The Gophers went 15-16. How do you bet on that game? The 12 against the 13. This is what I'm talking about. You have no clue. No clue.
That game is going to look just like, and we got off the air yesterday, and I had to sit here smashing my head against the wall with that Virginia Tech Cal game because I had Virginia Tech plus the 4.5. So I really didn't want overtime and went to overtime. Really didn't need a second overtime. Went to a second overtime, and then Cal, of course, ends up covering the 4.5, and I lose that one. So
look,
I got a feeling.
Go ahead.
Yes, that Minnesota Northwestern game is going to be like the Cal Virginia Tech game. It's gonna be like that game.
The way I bet on a game like that is when they're both as atrocious as they are, is that you bet on the team that has the best player. And Minnesota's got that Garcia kid, and he can go off at any point. And so this is a spotlight tournament game in Indy at the Field House in the Big Ten tournament. What better place for him to shine than in this game? Northwestern has no stars. Minnesota's got a star player who every game they won this year, even though they suck, every game they won this year was because of him. So I'm going to bet on them.
South Carolina back to down 2 with under a minute to go, 66-64.
The humanity, I have it on.
And Cal calls a timeout with 42.4 seconds left to go. Arkansas has the rock up 2 in the closing moments. We'll get to these other ones.
With the drive and kiss off the glass to pull him within 2. The guard with a beautiful bang kiss off the glass. He drove in, banged the body, got free, and made it off the left board.
The Big East will start at 4 o'clock. With Butler and Providence. First game of the day at the Garden for the Big East.
How do you bet on that game? It's Providence plus 2. And Butler. No.
I like Providence.
I'm going to bet on Dad Mata. He's the better coach.
That's probably a good way to go.
You got to have a reason to bet.
Mountain West underway early in Vegas. San Jose State over Wyoming 41-30. They're in the second half of that. We've got tons of NBA to do. Boston's playing OKC tonight, so we'll get into that. We've got a lot of NFL moves. Bosa to the Bills. How about that? Meanwhile, the Steelers and the Giants are waiting with bated breath for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, God, the humanity waiting for this guy, Aaron Rodgers. I thought he was going to announce it on his best friend's TV show today, but he can't because the Jets haven't released him yet till 4.
Jets haven't released him yet. He's got to wait it out.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
it's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid. Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Get Sports Rage weeknights at 10 Eastern on our TV and radio outlets. We're lucky enough to have Morency every day on C2C from Vancouver for a double shot. I'll start with this, Gabe. That Arkansas lead is 6 right now with 17 seconds left. They were laying 4.5. South Carolina called a timeout. They got the ball. A layup would cover. They're laying, it closed at 4.5. Arkansas was up 20. Blew the lead. They were up 1. Now they're up 6 with 17 to go. Have you been keeping an eye on this crazy game?
Yeah, I have been. I liked Arkansas, but I thought the number was a little high, so it's sort of going the way that I thought it would, Scott. Listen, man, at this time of the year, guys, and you were talking about it, these are not easy games to bet on, right? And if you're going in blind, I almost just kind of like the underdog, Scott, right? Like, for the most part, pretty much across the board, these teams are playing each other for the third time this year. So the odds makers are just sort of locking in these numbers from past history and what happened. And we all know at this time of the year, you throw the records out. What happened earlier in the year really doesn't matter. Let's say a team, had a disappointing year and they're 15 and 18 or something like that. Doesn't mean they're terrible. There could have been reasons to why they had the record that they did.
Right.
And you always get that last sort of push, right? Colorado's a good example, Scott. The Buffaloes.
What do we have to lose?
The Buffaloes. Dude, I took him yesterday. I was like, dude, this is the Buffaloes time of year. They always do this. This is what they do. Exactly. The coach comes in and guys, all right, we had a terrible year or we underachieved. This is our one shot. This is our last chance. We can do it. And, you get these teams. Look, dude, who was it? St. Francis last night?
I hit that.
Scott, they're like a 15 and 18 team.
They win as 11.5.
They win as 11.5 point underdogs.
And Delaware covered for me too with the 9.
Yeah. Other team starts missing shots, bro. It's not like you're playing against Michael Jordan or LeBron James here, right? The kids on the other team can miss shots. Next thing you know, the door opens for you. How about last night too, Scott? I was wrong. I'll put my hand up. The Vermont Catamounts, guys. Scott, Maine beat them for the first time in 30 games. Vermont had beaten Maine 30 consecutive times, Scott, and lost.
That's
last night.
crazy. That's
it's
crazy.
March Madness. It's March Madness.
Yeah, I bet on Maine last night, and I hit Delaware and I hit St. Francis, and it's the same thing. Now, here's the deal: it's a 4-point game again. So the kid missed a free throw. South Carolina went down and got the layup that I said that they would get. So they threw an inbounds pass, turned it over. Kid gets fouled, goes down, misses. Kid goes down, makes a layup, and now it's a 4-point game, and they're not covering with 8 seconds left. It's just insanity. Like, this is what it'll drive you nuts. I said it, like, this is just a preview of the torture that we're going to be under next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Absolute torture.
This is the precursor, so to speak, but this is the real meat grinder. Next Thursday and Friday, it'll be easier. There's actually less games next Thursday and Friday. This is the gauntlet. When people talk about March Madness, I've said it before, Scott, March Madness, like the actual NCAA tournament, it's for amateurs. It's like New Year's Eve. Every jackass, Johnny and Sally go out on New Year's Eve, right? And, we're partiers. We go out on New Year's Eve, and we go out on Halloween. Now, the real drunks are going out on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. You know what I'm saying? I don't need the real hardcores. Yeah, the real hardcores don't need it to be happy hour on Friday. You know what I'm saying? It's always happy hour
right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. This is like the real degenerate stuff.
Now it's a 2-point game. They're not going to cover.
Oh, God, wow.
They're not going to cover. They were up 6, and now they're going to win by 2, and they're not going to cover. They turn it over. They're embarrassing. That was the most embarrassing. Like, they're at the point now where they almost blew the game. They're up 2 with 3 seconds to go. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
They're lucky they can hang on. I played the over, Scott. I got the over of Colorado, West Virginia, just for the record. Just tipped off. I got the over 130.
It's 13-7 right now, Mountaineers. Boog Shambi on the call. The game that I got an eye on, not that anyone cares, is Southwestern Athletic, is Southern. Here they are taking on the 8, Grambling, and they were laying 6. And they were down early. Now they're up 36-23 with 15 minutes left. Will they blow it? All these teams blow these leads.
No, I don't think they'll blow
Notre
it.
Notre Dame's down big. Will they catch up?
I could see Notre Dame chipping away a little bit, but I think, listen, North Carolina, I kind of thought this was their last. It was a perfect matchup for North Carolina. They kind of just need one more win. They're going to get into the tournament, the Tar Heels. This is a good spot for them. So I did like the Tar Heels today, but I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame chips away. But for the bettors out there right now, Grambling State and Southern, as Scott just mentioned, they're already up to 59 points right now, guys. There's 15.5 left in the game. The in-game total is 109.5. This is a little too light right now at 109.5. And another thing for bettors out here, guys, in these games, there's a ton of fouls late, man. Right? This is it. Like the championship games, and/or it's the last game for the team. They do not go down without a fight. So you do get the fouls. You do get the bump in free throws late, especially with it being a double-digit game right now at 13. So I'm going to bet in-game over 109.5, Grambling State and Southern right now.
Do you give Kansas an edge playing in Kansas City, right down the road from Lawrence against UCF today, laying that big fat 10.5 against a 17-win team that blew out yesterday? They won easily, Central Florida. And then I love this game tonight. Northern Colorado from Greeley laying 2.5 to Montana. And the Grizzlies are 24-9. I'll bet you Montana beats them.
Yeah, that's a good game. That's just stated. Northern Colorado are sort of getting hype, but Montana are that pedigree team at this time of the year, Scott. So I'm leaning with you there as well. We got some good games. I know we're coming up against the break. I'll have some picks. The Texas game's a fun one later, too. Sort of one of those, they got to win. Texas and Vanderbilt are both like on the fence right now.
Texas and Vandy are coming up after this Arkansas-South Carolina game. The players are on the edge of the floor in the corner.
I think Kansas roll, though, Scott. I think Kansas roll, though. I think the Jayhawks are going to dial it up a notch.
All right, we'll come back with Morenz.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're talking about pal Morency out in BC, and I was just saying to him that this kid from South Carolina, right, was crying after they lost by 4. He's crying, and I just can't have it. When you go 2-16 in SEC play, that's what you should be crying about. You should have been crying when you were on your way to this game to lose, not afterwards. And the kid yesterday from Pitt, he was crying because the ref made such a terrible call at the end of that game with Notre Dame. That's what he was crying about. I can't have crying, Gabe. I honestly like crying over what?
Well, listen, Scott, I don't mind
your career, whatever.
I don't mind the tear or whatever, and like the gut wrenching. Like going back to like Seton Hall in Michigan, we're going back a ways, but Seton Hall lost in a gut wrenching fashion with the free throws. Like, I mean, all right, we made it to the Final Four, we fell, like,
right.
But I thought the same thing yesterday. I saw the kids on Pitt crying. I'm like, what are you kids crying about? Like, you're lucky you're even in the ACC tournament, let alone like the real tournament.
Right.
Like, you weren't going anywhere. You had a bad year. Like, did you think, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can understand, like, oh, my God, I was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. I got eliminated. Like, no, you got, like, 12 and 17 teams, and these kids
It was a bad call, though. That was a terrible call.
It was
no
bad.
one touched him, and he shot a brick on the bunny. Let's talk about Rutgers USC. They got Harper and Ace Bailey. I think their coach should be fired, Peichel, for coaching that team to a crappy 1 under 500 season. He won better with drug dealers from the Ironbound section in Newark than he did with 2 NBA lottery picks. He couldn't coach them to win. It's amazing.
It's like a Jersey thing, Scott. It's like remember the Brooklyn Nets? They were better when they had Jared Allen, Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, just a bunch of motley crew dudes that nobody wanted, and Atkinson was the coach. And they went to the freaking playoffs and nearly beat the Sixers in the playoffs. Then, let's get rid of all these scrubs and let's bring in Kyrie and KD. How did that work out for you? And same thing with Rutgers. It's bizarro world. I don't understand it, Scott. You got 2 freaking players that people are talking about being top 10 picks in the NBA draft, yet you're terrible. Like, you had a terrible year. It happens sometimes. It is what it is. I watch a lot of USC basketball, Scott, and Listen, USC women's basketball is lit, bro. I think the women's team might be able to beat the men's team. Like Juju Watkins is the best player on that campus. Right, let's just call it out for what it is. And USC don't care about men's basketball. They sort of pretend to, and they'll hire a coach. They're more worried. They got to win football games, right? Like, it's as simple as that. And they're good at everything else, right? Like, they're good at women's basketball. They're good at, track and field and the swimming, and they're good at a lot of sports. Basketball, for whatever reason, doesn't catch on, right? Like down at the pavilion there, they don't get anybody. Galen, they don't get anybody. They draw a couple of thousand. Yeah, there's not a buzz about him, Scott. I think Rutgers gets it done. Plus, it's a road trip for USC. I know it's a road trip for Rutgers, but
here's a great
USC
game.
Going to the Midwest. Give me the Scarlet Knights.
All right, what about the 1 against the 2? McNeese against Lamar. And how about McNeese laying 12.5? I'll take it.
I'm taking the points in this game, Scott. I don't know. It's too many points. You watch these games. Listen, McNeese have been murdering people. All right, I know this, but Lamar. But the points are too much in that game. And there's a tricky one tonight, too, guys, with American and Navy.
Yeah, that's a good game.
Now. Dude, I've lost money betting against Navy a couple of times this year. They're not bad. I'm taking the 4 points with the middies tonight. Give me the midshipmen to punch the ticket to the dance. When's the last time Navy's been in a tournament?
UNLV? They're at home at the Thomas and Hack in Sin City to make it a beautiful land.
I don't like laying 12.5, Scott. I tell you what, but this UNLV Running Rebel team playing the best basketball of the season. What are they, 7-1 in their last 8 games outright?
Air Force is awful.
Oh, they're bad Air Force. UNLV should win this game by 14-16 type of deal.
Yeah, I think they're going to get it done. I really do. How about Oklahoma and Georgia? It's 3.5. Georgia's favored. They both are right there. Oklahoma with a big win at Texas to end their season. Georgia has 20 wins. Does Georgia get 3.5 over Oklahoma? I doubt it.
Boomer Sooner. Give me the points, Scott. 3.5. Give me the points with the Sooners. Another really close game.
Canadians last night at $1.40.
That was a good pick. that was a good pick. And how about this last one? You said it earlier. Throw out what happened in the season and the record and is a team good or not. But I think the Cuse getting 9 against SMU is just a little too high. Give me the Cuse plus 9.
This time of year.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him
Really? You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Carver High is always better at releasing scores in the middle of the show of what's going on in these games, and then we'll get into the NFL skinny.
Yeah, obviously, as you and Gabe talked about, Arkansas survived that game, and they won by 4, 72-68. So Arkansas moves on. They will now play Ole Miss tomorrow in the early game in the SEC tournament down in Nashville. So Texas and Vandy's going to start in a few minutes. They're at the half in Charlotte at the ACC with North Carolina up 43-29 on Notre Dame. So a very strong first half for the Tar Heels as they're giving them the business there. Georgia Tech won the early game. Fordham still up 9 on Rhode Island at the A-10. Under 13 minutes to go. That's on USA, by the way.
I got that on right now with the Rams. My boy Kenny Fordham. I play ball with a guy that played. I've always told you about my boy Kenny that played at the Bronx at Fordham.
Yes.
Great shooter. Here they are. They're winning. So 61-52 over Rhode Island. But let's calm down. I mean, Rhode Island, Fordham was awful. They won 11 games this year. But if they beat Rhode Island, that's an upset.
That's an upset, no doubt. Rhode Island shouldn't be losing this game right now. And West Virginia already up 13 on Colorado right there. So 27-14. West Virginia leads in that game. That's the second game of the day at the Big 12. And they just tipped Northwestern and Minnesota. Now, Mafi was telling me this before the game. Me and you have been talking about all this streaming stuff with the soccer. And by the way, there's Champions League today. We've got Mbappe to score 2 goals.
Yeah, 4 games that I won't be watching.
Against Atletico. Well, you also, unless you got a few streaming things down there, won't be watching these either. Did you know that the Big Ten and the Big East games are all on Peacock today? That they are not on any regular channels? You got to turn on the Peacock streamer to watch Northwestern Minnesota, Butler and Providence, and Iowa and Ohio State, DePaul and Georgetown, the whole run of those games, USC Rutgers, and the Seton Hall Villanova. Those 6 games today are only on Peacock. The Big East and the Big Ten games.
I can watch it after the show. I get it after the show, but I don't get it. I don't get it down here in the vault.
In the vault, understandably so.
But
so
I get
there
the
you go.
ACC, I get the SEC, I got the USA, I got anything else. I don't have the Champions League. I've given up on the Champions League. I haven't watched one game the entire tournament, even though I love it. I haven't watched one game. The other day, I did watch the West Ham game on USA in the Premier League. I'll watch Premier League. My nephew lives in London, big Man U fan. He has now been drunk for like 3 days straight after they said they were tearing down Old Trafford. He's been drunk on a 3-day bender.
Now, the only Peacock games after that is the 2 early Big East games tomorrow. The St. John's game and the Xavier Marquette game are both on Peacock. But other than that, you'll get Indiana, Oregon on Big Ten Network, that early game in the Big Ten tomorrow. So the first game of the day on the Big Ten Network.
When is that game? At what time is that game air?
That's noon. Indiana's the first game of the day.
I got that game easy. I got Big Ten up there down here.
You're going to know the fate of Indiana by the time we start tomorrow at 3 o'clock. You'll know how
they don't have those 3 refs they had in Eugene that gave them 21 free throws, 15 in the last 5 minutes.
They'll have some different
they don't have those 3 communists.
They'll have some different guys in there for you today. So there you go. We'll keep our eyes on all of this. There's your boy from Colorado. Tad Boyle. He got his head in his hands like this. He's like, this could be it for me if things don't go well today after a 13-19 season for Colorado. We'll keep watching the basketball, of course. We're very involved in that. Lots of wagers happening for us. All right, let's try to sprinkle in some of this NFL stuff. Now, I believe the new league year actually starts at 4 o'clock East, right? Is that when the new league year officially begins?
They just released him 8 minutes. I think that they announced that they've released him, and they'll take on $49 million in dead money with the move. The Jets release Rodgers. It supposedly doesn't happen until 4 p.m.
4 p.m. East.
So there you go. I just looked up and I forgot about the. I did it all Saturday. The spring forward. I did not change the vault clocks, and I just looked up and I was like, what time is the Jets releasing Rodgers? And I looked up in here and said it was 25 to 3. It's 25 to 4. Heavens to Betsy.
Now, they will take on $49 million in dead money when they release him today. But really, I have seen, and this is what Rodgers does, and we've talked about this in the past, I have seen so many wild and crazy stories about Rodgers today. Like he's going to make everyone wait. He wants to think about his decision. It's down to the Steelers and Giants. Oh, no, the Vikings are still in it. Oh, he may retire. This guy's had weeks to think about this. He's known for weeks that these teams are interested in him. They're all going to sit around waiting for this guy to figure out, or is he waiting for some big media event
first of all,
to announce where he wants to go?
I don't think that I don't think that the Vikings want to bring this poison in to ruin J.J. McCarthy's head because you know how selfish he is and narcissistic. It's all about him. And he has said before, literally, he's like, I'm not teaching anybody anything. Then he changed his tune and said he'd be glad to help. I don't believe him. I really don't. I think it's all about him. It always has been. He does his weekly national television press conference with Pat and his crew. That show's great. It still cheeses me out. I just want to, see where he goes. I think it's realistically the Steelers and Giants. But here's the deal. I think that what is the point of waiting? What is the point of dragging it out? No one, let's face facts. This is drummed up by the media. This is drummed up by fans. Like, anybody gives a rat's ass about his crusty 41-year-old ass anymore. Here's the deal. The Steelers aren't going to play games with this guy. He's either going to do a deal with him or they're just going to do Russell Wilson, and that'll be the end of it, and they're going to play with Wilson. That'll be it. They're just I know the Rooneys. I know this guy Tomlin. He's not letting someone like a dog take a leak on their leg and drag it out and play games. He's not going to do it now. Maybe the Giants will because they're so desperate. I still believe that the Giants' best move is not Aaron Rodgers. It's to trade up and draft Cam Ward. What are they doing? Just do it already. I am telling you, if they go with Aaron Rodgers, Dable and Shane, they might as well fire him today when they sign him. Just fire him today when they sign him because it's not going to work. They don't have any talent. The Steelers have talent. Let's just face facts. Who would you rather throw to, Darius Slayton and Neighbors, or would you rather throw to Pickens and Metcalf and their tight end, Freiermuth, who everyone loves? Now look, and Jalen Warren, who's a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he got Gainwell. The Steelers are the better option for him. But look, I'm telling you, they'll just sign Wilson. They're not going to play games with this guy. He thinks he's so special. He's washed. His career's over. He's lucky he's got job offers.
Right. And you look around, everybody's, this stuff moves fast. They're out there. Everybody's getting all their pieces in order so they can start working on the draft. That's what they want. They want to get this all done with. They're not going to sit around and wait.
How do you have all of these moves? Now, I've even heard they're talking to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer again.
Yeah.
To be a backup and bring him back to Pittsburgh. How do you have Metcalf and Pickens and you have no quarterback on your roster? They don't have Wilson. Yeah. They don't have Fields. They don't have Allen. They don't have anybody. They got to make a move.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Honestly, that Southern game is driving me nuts. They're laying 6 and they're up 6 with 6 minutes left. Is there anything worse? There's 6 left. They're laying 6. They're up 6, and it just smells like a non-cover. It's the same thing as the Arkansas game. You can just smell it coming. And West Virginia's lead is down to 6 over Colorado. Northwestern's up 13-7 on Minnesota, and they're still at the half. North Carolina up 14. Minute and a half left. San Jose State is up 8 on Wyoming in the Mountain West. And then this Fordham is 71-59 Rams over the Rams. It's the Fordham Rams against the Rhode Island Rams.
Yeah.
Fordham's in the leads, 71-59 with 8 minutes left and rolling.
Yes, indeed. And Charlotte ended up winning that game. They were dogs to Rice, and they ended up winning 64-61. Everyone was excited about the American Conference, which is down in Texas, of course. All right, a few more NFL things for you as we move along. The Bills actually have been pretty active here in the last couple of days. Joey Bosa, we thought he was going to go play with his brother in San Francisco, but instead a 1-year, about $12.5 million deal to go to Orchard Park, where the Bills cut Von Miller. They've been trying to make some other moves on the defensive line, and they're going to take a chance with Bosa, Scotty, and they got Ogunjobi from the Steelers as well for the defensive line. So you think about it, also a 1-year deal. I kind of like this. I know Bosa gets banged up, and he doesn't play a lot, but for 1 year, I could take a shot with that. I'm glad they didn't give him 3-4 years or $50 million. I think it's worth the risk because he's playing for money this year, too, if he stays out there.
I don't mind that deal. I think Ogunjobi sucks. In fact, I know he does. I just watched him suck in Pittsburgh for the last couple of years. So I'm not fooled by that deal. But I like Bosa if he's healthy. You know, it's weird. He played in Los Angeles, right? And you would think that a guy playing in the sunshine, in the warm weather, indoors, perfect everything, ideal setting, that he would be healthy. Meanwhile, he was injured the whole time he played there. Watch him go to Buffalo where it's 20 below and freezing ass, and his body actually stays healthy in the cold. I'll bet the guy is healthy in Buffalo. Never was healthy when he was running down to the beach to run in the sand and lay in the sun and everything. Now he's going to be freezing his ass off. It's like a free ice bath in Buffalo, and guys go there and they play well. Guys go there and they have success. Guys go there, they go to the playoffs. And look, I thought Von Miller sucked. I think Joey Bosa is way better than Von Miller. Not back in the day, but he is now. That's
and look,
upgrade.
I think it's smart for him from this aspect too. If he would have went to San Francisco, who's he kind of in the shadow of? His little brother, right? Because he's the star there. Nick's been the star in San Francisco for a while. You know that the Bills are knocking on the door. I mean, they're right there. And if you're one of the pieces that finally puts them over the top, and they win, you become a legend up there. So listen, I know that Joey Bosa's got plenty of money.
Then they might sign him to a deal.
Exactly. So
he's
there's
got
a lot of things
to
that
prove,
can happen
Mike,
there.
this year. He's been, in absentia. Your boy has just been nowhere to be found, right? So he has a lot to prove, and I think that he's going to have a chip on his shoulder, and I think he's going to do his best to stay on the football field.
I hope so, too. The Bills re-signed DeMar Hamlin, also a one-year deal. They signed Washington safety Derek Forrest to a one-year deal, too. They need some help at the safety position. They get that. Washington re-signs Marcus Mariota to be the backup to Daniels, 1 year, $8 million.
Not bad money to stand on the sideline. $8 million to stand on the sideline and look at cheerleaders. I mean, honestly, that's just a great gig.
It's a great gig indeed. I have no idea what the Falcons are doing. We've been through this, but they, again today, they're going to give Cousins this $10 million on Sunday. They're not going to get rid of him. And he is going to be, you want to talk about a guy who's going to be in purgatory, sitting on that sideline watching Penix play all year. That's going to drive Cousins nuts. I know he comes off as a nice guy.
I'm done. I'm done with what does the world owe Kirk Cousins something? And all of his excuses. He said he was injured and everything else. He was awful, is what he was. Awful. So let's get real. Like, he's hit a wall, and that's that. And this is where he's at now. This is what happens to quarterbacks when they hit a wall or when they play terrible. And he is one of the most overpaid quarterbacks in the history of the NFL.
Certainly is. Chiefs restructure Mahomes and Chris Jones. Why have caps or deals like you could just? And it's not just the Chiefs. Everyone does this. Like, the Bills just did it with Allen too. Like, what's the point? You just gonna rework everyone's deal each year to keep pushing that money down the line and free up space. $44.9 million in space.
I don't care about their mathematician who solved the Rubik's Cube and changed the dollar signs on the contract and how much money is going to go here and when. I don't care. I hate them. I hope they lose every game they play. I enjoyed watching them get their ass pummeled in the Super Bowl.
That was fun. They did lose their starting safety, Justin Reed. He went to New Orleans, 3 years and $31 million for him. They lost DeAndre Hopkins, who did nothing in the playoffs anyway. 1 year, $5 million to the Ravens in Baltimore. The Falcons signed Leonard Floyd after he was released, if you remember, by the 49ers yesterday. 1 year, $10 million. Jacoby Brissett keeps getting work. I think he's on like his 11th or 12th stop, but off to Arizona he goes. He gets work, though. We'll give him credit. The Titans signed Van Jefferson. He was with the Steelers last year.
He's another one. Honestly, he is so worthless. Honestly, like, and $2.5 million to never make a play. Not one play did he ever make in Pittsburgh. Not one ever.
No, he did not. Seahawks, Marquez Valdez-Scantling 1 year deal. Arizona re-signed Zay Jones 1 year, $4.4 million. Saints rework Tyrann Mathieu. Honey Badger. Oh, he doesn't like being called that anymore, right?
He
doesn't like being called the Honey Badgers.
Whatever.
Is still a good
That's
player.
who he is. Go have an oyster.
Just make sure you go get it at the Acme.
The Acme, best place ever. Right? I wish I was there right now.
Yeah, it would be watching the games. You got all the TVs in there watching the games. The Acme would be great.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, so we're still talking about NFL, Skinny. I noticed Cooper Kupp stories out there. The thing is, I know they're going to cut him, right? And then I'm hearing, oh, okay, well, like the Raiders are interested in him for the right price. Well, that means he's not going there because Cooper Kupp's going to have more than an offer from the Raiders. There's going to be several teams that are willing to pay Cooper Kupp. You know, obviously the Rams don't want to pay him anymore, but somebody's going to pay Cooper Kupp to do his thing, and that's just all there is to it. And it sounds like, to me, the Raiders want a blue light special, Mike, and that's just not happening with that guy. I still think he can get a better job than some discount tire offer from the Raiders.
Yeah, it seems like, allegedly, according to people who think they know, that there's going to be like 3 or 4 teams that are interested in Kupp.
At least.
I would guess that at least one of them is going to be willing to give him a little bit more money than everybody else. So I think that he's probably just going to hold his cards right now and wait for somebody to offer him either multi-years or a lot of money in 1 year, one of those situations. I mean, you look what some of these guys got. You know, what did the Giants give Darius Slayton, like $12, $13 million a year? So.
Look at what Sage just got in Zona. He got, $4.4 million? Tell me Cooper Kupp isn't worth that.
Yeah, I think that somebody's going to pay Cooper Kupp and believe that they're still going to get the Thunder from a couple of years ago. Also from the Rams, your boy Puka Shells is going to switch his number from 17 to 12. You know, he wore it to 12 at BYU, but they had to make sure that they rolled out the red carpet for Devontae Adams and gave him 17. So they had to make sure.
I've never really understood this soft feta cheese. Like, I got to have my number or I'm just not going to be the same guy. I got to have my number. Like, it's so cheesy to me. Like, who cares what your number is?
I'll say this. If it's the punter, or if it's the backup quarterback, or if it's like some 7th string wide receiver,
right?
Take the guy's number, whatever. Like Puka Shells is like a legit like star in the league now. I mean, a number that dude's put up. Like, he shouldn't just be lying down and giving the number up. Now, maybe he wanted to. Who knows?
Adams, I'll tell you that much. And
yes,
here's another.
He does.
Like, so I was like number 42 forever in the league that I play in. I was like your boy, what's his name from the Cavs, Kevin Love. And then I when I had heart surgery, I stopped playing for a couple of years. I come back, and now I'm 92. Like, what was I gonna complain about it? See if somebody could give me number 42 back. And
yeah,
like, how about this? I played in 250 games, and then when I left the league, they wiped all 250. And now I've played in like 24 games since I came back, and that's my history. 24 games. Meanwhile, I played in almost 300 games, and they wiped it like it never happened. Then they added insult to injury. All 12 banners that we had up on the wall, they tore all those down too. Now the walls are barren. I'm like, what's next? There's no showers? Jesus. Tariff. Refund.
Can't have it.
Refund.
Can't have it. Can't have it. And finally, for the NFL for now, and there's probably going to be some more stuff after 4 o'clock potentially. There was some talk on if the Eagles were going to go to the White House or not. I know this is very big news for some people, but they are going to go April the 28th. So mark your calendars for that. So you get yourself a show there at the White House on the 28th.
I have absolutely no comment whatsoever about anything to do with that.
It doesn't really matter to me. I don't care. Go visit the White House.
I don't care what they do there ever.
They're underway, game 2 of the SEC in Nashville. Vandy up 5-2 on Texas. They just got going. Northwestern has a 19-16 lead on Minnesota.
How about Grambling's winning now? Southern's going to blow it.
Grambling up 2. We need some more points in this Notre Dame-North Carolina game. 53-34. Can we start banging some threes here in this game? I mean, let's go. Can we get this thing up over into the 150s for us? Is it possible?
The
Probably
only
not.
way Southern wins now is overtime. There's only one way they can cover now. It's overtime. It's a 2-point game with 37 seconds left. They have blown that. Did I not tell you with 6 minutes left, 6-point lead, a 6-point spread, that they would blow it? Did I not say they're going to lose?
Yes.
Unbelievable. What a bunch of peas. And you're the number 1 seed. How pathetic are you? Honest to God.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play 2 different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. only on SportsGrid.